Okay, so as we start to come back to our older schedule, I want to pick up again with our Who Would Win series, before we slowly delve back into the Dream Battle series, crossover discussion series, and our new beloved Fusion series, yes. Now, these last few weeks or so, I've also noticed that I've been giving Marvel a lot of attention. So today, we are going to switch things up a bit and turn our focus on a DC fight between two of Superman's greatest villains, Darkseid and Doomsday. Now, Darkseid versus Doomsday is a stirring and toxic debate between fans, especially ever since Doomsday beat Darkseid during the Hunter-Prey storyline, which was basically a showcase of Doomsday kicking everyone else's ass, and it was rather freaking insane. However, a lot of readers and fans alike felt that Darkseid himself was written to be weaker than usual, and thus many disagree with this outcome. Now, it was later confirmed that this was retconned into being that it was an avatar of Darkseid, which is weaker in comparison to the real Darkseid. However, even then, people still raved that this is also a low showing of just an avatar too, as Darkseid, as we all know, is one of the most formidable beings in the entire DC universe. Now, on the other side of the corner, there are people who truly feel that fans and readers underestimate Doomsday and how powerful he really is, especially when it comes to the Hulk versus Doomsday debate. Now, the argument on the side for Doomsday is that for all intents and purposes, the writers wanted to basically create a character that is the next impossible thing to hurt by default. Thus why he was the first legitimate character to kill Superman in a fist-to-fist fight rather than having to rely on his greatest weakness, Kryptonite, to take down the Man of Steel. So, here we are again asking the age-old question, who would win between Darkseid and Doomsday? Now, the first thing we will obviously do, as always, is give you all a rundown over the characters, but also lay down some rules and clear things up in case anyone gets upset. Now, first off, we are going to refer to these characters separately from their multiversal counterparts and keep things in one flowing motion. Now, I know this is going to skew things a bit, but some of the feats I want to bring up are not only crucial, but will make this fight far more fair, interesting, and keep things simple. So, I'm not going to differentiate between each version of the characters every time, simply just to keep things less confusing. Plus, we will see these two at their absolute best. Speaking of at their absolute best, we will not be using the true form of Darkseid, but instead we'll only use the one avatar that is projected upon the multiverse by the true Darkseid. Now, the reason for this is because true Darkseid would decimate Doomsday with ease, man. Like, he would crush him. Yeah. Anyway, so furthermore, we will remove the fight between Darkseid and Doomsday and completely ignore it, simply because we want to look at these characters separately and be fair. And lastly, if we are using Darkseid at his strongest aside from, well, his true form, then we will also use Doomsday at his strongest as well, which includes Hunter-Prey, Doomsday Wars, and the God Wars storyline. Now, with all that said, let's begin and come down to a conclusion on who would win this battle. Okay, so starting with Darkseid, man, so Darkseid I found out is a bit complicated, and it's all because of DC's multiverse and Darkseid having all these avatars. So again, we are going to pretend that there is one Darkseid, and we are going to first briefly explain the multiverse. So first off, in the middle, we have the multiverses, and there are exactly 52 individual universes within this multiverse. Now, within these 52 universes, it comes as no surprise that there are certain characteristics that these universes have in common, like having certain versions of the same characters like Batman and Superman. However, there are also several unique factors that also make them slightly or drastically different. Like there is of course the universe that we are all familiar with, that has the exact classic origins of these characters, like Superman losing his home planet Krypton, arriving on Earth, and then went on to become Superman. This is the universe where Bruce Wayne loses his parents in Crime Alley, and then later in his years becomes the Batman. But then there is literally a universe that instead of the Justice League being heroes, they are mobsters or villains, and their traits are so drastically different. And that, of course, is Universe 3, the Crime Syndicate. So yeah, we have 52 of these universes that exist within this multiverse, and that is held together by a force called the Bleed, which is basically what takes up the space in between the universes. So it's basically like a pepperoni pizza. The pepperonis are the universes, and the cheese in between them is what holds the universes together and keeps them from colliding or moving around freely. Now, this is where we get to Darkseid himself and what is outside of the multiverse, the God Sphere, which literally houses heaven, hell, New Genesis, which is the home of the new gods, like the High Father, who's a dick, and then we have Genesis's arch rival, Apokolips, which is ruled by our first combatant, Darkseid, who is a guy named Euxis who kills his brother to obtain absolute power from the Omega Force, which he bathes himself in and then emerges as a new being called Darkseid. Now, this origin was never supposed to change. It was always supposed to remain the same because during Crisis on Infinite Earths, that exact event took place directly inside of the entire multiverse, while Darkseid himself was existing outside of the events that took place, which means that he doesn't get retconned or rebooted in any way whatsoever. So, it made it easier to understand that, okay, he's like Marvel's living tribunal, who exists across the entire multiverse as one singular being, instead of there being literally multiple versions of him, and Darkseid is supposed to work in that same exact fashion until we learned that there are avatars and that he recently got rebooted in the New 52, which we are going to ignore and just accept everything as we see as a singular avatar. Yes. Anyway, so Darkseid is seen as one of the most powerful beings in existence and is considered as the Justice League's greatest threat as well as New Genesis, and to that end uses his high rule and vast knowledge to bring everything and everyone to his will by remaking the cosmos in his image by acquiring the anti-life equation. Now, in terms of strength, well, Darkseid is one of the physically most imposing beings in all of DC Comics, and I do not take that lightly. And I'm not plainly just putting out there that, oh yeah, he's like everyone else, you know, he's like really strong. No, I'm serious when I say that he is legitimately one of the physically most powerful beings in all of DC, as he basically rivals or surpasses the physically strongest beings like Wonder Woman, Shazam, Martian Manhunter, and Superman, to the point where if he wanted to, he could easily destroy planets with the mere force of his punches. And in addition, has backhanded Superman nearly unconscious, overpowered the demon Etrigan, decimated a team of Dark Stars, which are said to be on par with Green Lanterns, defeated the Justice League with a single attack, destroyed a Green Lantern ring with his bare hand, fought against the Anti-Monitor in combat, and defeated Jimmy Olsen, who was empowered by all the souls of the dead New Gods, which is stupid impressive, as when New Gods merge, apparently their power increases tenfold, and Jimmy was bestowed with the power of thousands of these gods. Now, in addition to being one of the strongest beings in DC, He also possesses super speed that has allowed him to keep up with the fastest members of the Justice League like Green Lantern, Shazam, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, and the Flash, as well as travel to the Source Wall in a very short amount of time. He can fly, doesn't need air, food, or water to survive, is immune to toxins and diseases, and possesses a highly advanced intellect, outclassing individuals that have existed for billions of years, and has a perfect high roll over the planet Apokolips. Now, throughout his 50 years of history, Darkseid has battled several of the strongest beings and groups in the DC universe and has been victorious in a vast majority of these contests, not only thanks to his ridiculous strength, but also his elite level of durability, as Darkseid can tank a great deal of punishment and despite how much he takes, will rise and ask for more. Now, just to run through a few examples of the ridiculous durability Darkseid possesses. Well, first off, he has casually survived being thrown into orbit and attacked by an amped pre-crisis Supergirl, has shrugged off a beatdown by the Legion of Superheroes on 2 occasions, which consist of many powerful Kryptonians and Kryptonian equivalents, survived a multiversal punch thrown by a Green Lantern named Alan Scott, who drew the power of the green from the multiverse, and once he'd landed a direct punch on Darkseid, he still stood up and wanted more. Now, lastly, the most impressive feat of Darkseid's durability that I have seen displayed so far is him surviving a bomb that can apparently rip apart all of existence, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Now, Darkseid does not only possess such durability, but he also has limitless stamina that allows him to engage in battle for basically as long as he wants to without growing tired. And of course, being the god of evil, Darkseid is fueled by a cosmic energy source called the Omega Effect, which he can use in a plethora of ways. The first of which is, of course, the iconic Omega Beams, which is stated to be the most powerful attack in the entire DC universe, and are capable of annihilating pretty much any living thing. Now, these Omega Beams aren't just your typical beams that are only limited to traversing in straight lines like Superman's heat vision, but instead, these beams are also able to bend or twist and will automatically target his opponents and follow them non-stop. When targeted, these beams are not just something anyone can simply get away from, as they are so fast that only a few of the fastest characters in DC can actually somewhat avoid them, such as Superman and the Flash. However, as the most powerful attack in the DC universe, it's only logical that very few can actually survive the beams, although beings like the Spectre do still take a great deal of damage, and Superman himself has been completely knocked out by a single beam. However, the Omega Effect does not only produce a very powerful attack, but it can teleport the target anywhere Darkseid chooses, erase them from existence instantly, and if he willingly wanted to, can restore a target that has either been erased or killed by the Omega Beams. Now, in addition to all of this, the Omega Effect goes way beyond just projecting beams, but also grants Darkseid with a long list of abilities which include 18 divine senses, force field creation, matter manipulation, energy manipulation, size alteration, telekinesis, unleash energy enhanced strikes, traverse through dimensions, manipulate souls, project himself onto the astral plane, and lastly, Darkseid is one of the most powerful telepaths in DC and has been able to control over 3 billion Daxamites all at once, completely shut down the entire Legion of Superheroes, and is resistant to other powerful telepaths like Martian Manhunter, which is insanely impressive due to the fact that Martian Manhunter has been able to read the minds of everyone on Earth and even harm the Spectre with a telepathic attack, and is considered to be the greatest telepath on Earth. So overall, Darkseid has been and still continues to be one of the most powerful beings in DC, and anyone who is far beyond even the levels of Superman is someone that should not be trifled with whatsoever, unless it's perhaps someone like Doomsday. Okay, so like many comic characters that have been around for a while, Doomsday has been retconned and so on numerous times, especially with the New 52 kind of muddling things up. But the short, simple, and original story is that Doomsday is a culmination of a clone being exposed to the harshest of environments, dying to those environments, and then being cloned over and over again, each time becoming more impervious to what it was that had previously killed him, until eventually he would turn on his creator and then ravage across the universe, and ever since has become one of the greatest threats across the entire DC universe. Now, when it comes to his power set, you guys are going to immediately notice that it's extremely similar to Marvel Comics' Incredible Hulk. For example, like the Hulk, Doomsday possesses vast super strength, which has varied throughout his history, but it's agreed upon that his strength is much like Superman's, or if not even more, due to the fact that he can easily overpower most opponents, leap miles at a time, just like the Hulk, decimate groups like the Justice League, the Green Lantern Corps, and even kill other alien-like races such as Martians and Kryptonians, which, of course, we know this because he killed Superman in the infamous story called The Death of Superman, and breaking his arm in another, as well as both of Wonder Woman's arms. In addition to this, he has also done things with such strength, like destroying planets with his punches, tore through multiple Imperiex probes, beings that were giving the strongest of heroes troubles, as well as gods, which are godlike beings, and most impressively punched through the Phantom Zone, a place in which you do not take on a physical form. But regardless of that, he adapted a physical form and then punched through the near indestructible barrier. Now, in addition to this strength, his speed is the most surprising thing to most because of his bulk size, as in a matter of moments, he has managed to render most teams in a blitz, and like Darkseid, has been able to keep up with beings such as Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and most impressively the Flash. Which, if you want to get an idea on how impressive that is, then linked below is my fusion battle video on Symbiotic Superman versus Speed Force Juggernaut, where we did a rundown over the Flash. Anyway, so Doomsday, aside from his strength and impressive speed, is most well known for his stature and durability, as Doomsday's entire body is composed of complete biomass, a super thick hide, and thick bone spikes on his arms, legs, and even face, which he can manipulate to increase in size for extra offensive protection, or from his mere knuckles to cut foes like Superman down and severely harm them. Thus, this makes him completely resistant to any physical harm taken, such as rockets, lasers, and even atomic bombs. Now, in addition to this, throughout his years of DC history, we have seen Doomsday go toe-to-toe with some of DC's hardest hitters and nearly come out unscathed. And some of these opponents, of course, include Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Superman, and even a Guardian of the Universe, which is far more powerful than any single or group of Green Lanterns. Now, to even get a better sense on how durable Doomsday really is, well, he has taken a total beatdown from the likes of Cyborg Superman as well as Supergirl all at once, and of course he stood victorious with no signs of harm on his person, has survived the soul-stealing sword of Katana, which, by the way, was able to cut down an extremely powerful demon named Sabak, who even Shazam could not harm, took on an energy attack that wiped out a fifth of a planet, and even survived an explosion to the face that was equivalent to 1 million nuclear bombs. Now, in addition to all this, he does not require food, water, or oxygen to survive, as again, he is made entirely out of biomass and is for all intents and purposes immortal. However, if damage is taken, he can heal almost instantaneously. Thus, Doomsday is basically indestructible by all means. Now, by this point, you're thinking, wow, he is basically an exact copy of the Incredible Hulk. However, there is one huge key difference here, and what sets him so far apart from Hulk is that Doomsday's ability to adapt his power set to meet his needs. Now, due to the evolutionary experimentation done on Doomsday, he was continuously killed on a prehistoric Krypton where at the time lived the most dangerous creatures in the universe. As such, he returns to life every single time he dies and becomes near invulnerable to what killed him prior, and thus he also becomes more powerful. So his entire body and essence is built as a defensive structure which continues to arm itself the more it's exposed to assault and effects that may try to neutralize Doomsday. And Doomsday has endured many deaths throughout his years, so of course he has become immensely powerful and near impossible to kill. Some of these deaths include being beat to death by Superman, as well as ripped in half, curb stomped by a Kryptonian horde, reduced to bone by the godlike being Imperiax, and lastly was destroyed by Radiant, a being of pure energy which Doomsday would later face off again and kill. Also, because of this ability to adapt and return to life, he has also developed the ability to quickly evolve his DNA in real time and exploit his opponent's strengths and weaknesses in mid-battle. For example, when he faced Martian Manhunter, he evolved around his phasing as well as radiance and gained the ability to breathe fire due to Martian Manhunter's fear of fire. And there was another instance when Doomsday faced Superman, in which he not only became immune to kryptonite, but he began to grow kryptonite from his person. And of course, I mentioned earlier that he adapted a physical body in the Phantom Zone so he could punch through it. So, while Doomsday was certainly a character of formidable power comparable to Superman when he made his first appearance, he was only just starting and thus became debatably one of the strongest threats that we have ever seen in DC Comics. Okay guys, so I gave you a brief rundown over both Darkseid and Doomsday with their feats and powers outlined, and now it's time to decide who would win this battle. But before I do, I briefly want to mention once again that whoever I choose is not fact. It's strictly opinion. And I'm not expecting everybody to agree with me, and that's fine. But I will ask for everybody to keep an open mind and respect each other's thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and please be kind to one another, no matter how you feel about the topic, okay? Now, having said that, this is probably one of the most insane battles I have done in my 6+ years of YouTube overall, as this battle is immensely brutal and will result in devastating amounts of destruction. In addition, determining which one is more powerful than the other is insanely difficult, as both have accomplished some jaw-dropping feats, and thus it makes it hard to choose a victor, which I'll be honest with you guys, it can go either way. So I completely understand if you're on either side. With that said, I could take the easy way out and say, this is a draw, but I'm not gonna give in so easily. So how I'm going to do this is just by simply comparing the two while also looking at any weaknesses that either can exploit to gain any kind of advantage on the other. Now, with that said, when it comes to who's more powerful, well, my money is just so ever slightly on Darkseid, mainly because he is literally depicted as being a god. But if we are talking about a Doomsday at his best, well, then things change significantly, because I do still think Darkseid is slightly stronger, but what makes a huge difference is Doomsday's many deaths throughout his history. And the reason why is because unlike many characters, you cannot just pull evidence from the comics from Doomsday's losses or weaknesses, because rather than them being shortcomings, they are upcomings that only make Doomsday harder or near impossible to kill, because again, every time Doomsday is killed, he becomes impervious to that death. So now we ask the question, can Darkseid kill Doomsday? Now I say kill, meaning that we are not going to use the simple argument that Darkseid could just whisk Doomsday off to only God knows where, nor can he be simply under his control as a servant. No, we're not doing that. He has to kill Doomsday. So, can he do it? Well, guys, I gotta be honest, I don't think he can, because while Darkseid possesses ages of experience and may even exceed Doomsday in versatility in terms of powers and abilities, Doomsday's immunity of already being beaten to death, ripped apart, impaled, incinerated, and even reduced to a skeleton means that Darkseid doesn't really possess the options to take Doomsday out. In addition to this, even if the Omega Beams do manage to harm Doomsday, over time they will become ineffective after so much exposure to it. Plus, not only does Doomsday possess more than enough strength to harm the likes of Darkseid, but he's going to be able to adapt to the strengths and weaknesses of Darkseid, which, unlike Doomsday, he actually possesses, which is Radion, which Doomsday, after a long period of time, could perhaps adapt a part of his body into Radion in order to simply kill Darkseid. So, having said that, I am giving the very slight winning edge to Doomsday, because while Darkseid has the power and intellect, or if given time to prepare, which is not allowed in my videos, but regardless, he could create a situation where he could win this fight. However, since this is a battle to the death, Doomsday may not be more invulnerable from the start, as we never seen him take a multiversal attack or walking off ripping apart existence, but what we did see was him surviving a blast that had the power of 1 million nuclear bombs. And while that may be very minor in comparison, it's the fact that with each offensive attack, no matter how much it is, only becomes less effective or even useless, meaning that he will reach a level of durability beyond Darkseid's. So basically what I'm saying is that Doomsday is more than ready to handle what Darkseid dishes out, as he is basically deemed invulnerable to almost anything, at least not without any outside interference or preparation time. So, with Doomsday's strength, speed, and mortality, and his ability to adapt from previous deaths and on the spot, gives Doomsday the very slight edge. Now again, we are not talking about a young, fresh Doomsday who has not endured many deaths, because that would be a completely different outcome, obviously. Especially if we are talking about the true form of Darkseid, who can just simply wipe him completely off the face of DC, or can just bound him in the Omega Sanction, a self-contained reality that forces the individual to live out an infinite number of lives, but with each death getting progressively worse. But we are talking about Doomsday at his strongest, facing an Avatar. Now, of course, again, I could see this fight really going either way, if I am to be honest with you guys. And I hate being that guy who chooses the underdog, or basically the guy who already won in their actual fight. But I think those advantages Doomsday has is the single thing that can tip the scales in his favor. Thus, the winner of this battle is the ultimate life form, Doomsday. Okay guys, so we're gonna bring this video to an end. But before I go, I want to ask 3 very interesting questions. So, number 1, who is your favorite comic book villain of all time? Number 2, if there is anyone you would want to be exposed to the Doomsday virus and become the next Doomsday, who would it be? So, that question is not limited to just comics. This can be anybody you want, literally, okay? Number 3, if the true form of Darkseid were to send Doomsday to the Omega Sanction, do you think his ability to adapt would function as normal, or do you think it would be rendered? I think that's going to personally be the most interesting one. So, those are your questions. So if you guys are new here on Dream Battles, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. And if you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Also, if you want to be notified when I upload, then please ding dong that notification bell. All right. Mike G off your screen. Stay tuned for the next video. See you guys soon.